What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to the 8 Below Show. And guys, I'm really excited about tonight. Tonight, everyone, we're going to be talking about Call of Duty and a lot of things that revolve around the game and such. And let's just get right into it, guys, because I'm excited to talk about this and talk about a game that I'm incredibly passionate about. So one thing, guys, that you might notice is that my setup is maybe a little bit different, or may seem like the camera angles may seem just a tad bit different or something. It's actually because, guys, I've been rearranging my setup a little bit, or I'm starting to slowly upgrade my setup, which I'm really excited about. But obviously the background, guys, is of course still the same, but as far as like my desk is concerned, if I were to turn the camera around, you would see that I have a completely new desk. Actually, the desk that I have been using for, geez, man, it's been about the past couple of years on YouTube, has actually basically right over to the side over here that I was using for a long time. And anyways, I've upgraded slightly. I'm going to, of course, when I end up moving eventually, I'll probably end up getting a little bit of a nicer desk and such. But, slowly but surely, we're kind of just growing and, slowly updating the setup as we go. But this is really exciting. I have a little bit more space now, which really is nice. And so I want to give you guys the best possible experience that we can, as far as, with the 8 Below Show. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. I want to say thank you to all of you for all the support that you guys have been giving us here on the YouTube channel, and the support you guys have been giving us with 8 Below. It is absolutely amazing. So today's episode, guys, as I said, is going to be all about Call of Duty. I'll be referencing some articles online, but we're also just going to be giving you guys, this is going to be more one of those episodes I give you a lot of my opinions, my backstory as far as Call of Duty is concerned. Give you guys some of the reasons why I love this franchise, and amongst many, there's a bunch of different games that I love, guys, but Call of Duty's got a soft spot. I have a real spot in my heart for Call of Duty, and I'll kind of talk about that here today. But to start, guys, I thought one thing that would that's kind of I guess a way to introduce us here to Call of Duty. Obviously, you guys can see, even from the background, you can see I have some Call of Duty posters that I have up, and that's not some sort of accident or something that I put Call of Duty posters up, guys. No, Call of Duty is one of my favorite games in the world. I've absolutely loved this franchise over the course of time. I'll tell you how I got into Call of Duty was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now, I had played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but I didn't have Xbox Live or anything along those lines. What I did have, however, was an Xbox, which I was able to, of course, play the campaign or the story mode of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or I should say COD 4. And that was where it started, was COD 4's campaign mode. When I started playing this game, guys, it started to really open my eyes to not only like creativity on the platform, or like just, an immense amount of creativity came to mind when I'm playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, COD 4 for the first time, and just really kind of getting a feel for what the game was all about. And I was like, man, this is such a really cool experience on Xbox. And I just remember, going back all those years when that game came out, I really enjoyed it just for the story mode. I actually played the story mode multiple times. I was trying to get all the achievements that they had on there. I know that they had, of course, some multiplayer, but I really didn't get into the multiplayer, guys, until Modern Warfare 2. Now, when Modern Warfare 2 was released, that was where I really got into the multiplayer of Call of Duty. Now, I will say this, when I played COD 4, I do remember, Modern Warfare 2 came out shortly after I finished COD 4, or at least the campaign. I would say it came out a few months afterwards. So that's kind of like, I'll give you kind of a timeline of what I'm looking at, where I kind of came into the scene playing Call of Duty. And so I started playing Modern Warfare 2. I played the campaign first, which I pretty much still do to this day. I always play the campaign first. I think that story modes are something really special. And I like to, it also kind of gets you, I always feel like with campaign modes in video games, not only do you get introduced to the story and such, but you also get introduced to the mechanics of the game. So it kind of gets you kind of familiarized with how things work in the game, and then you can jump into the multiplayer afterwards, and you start kind of getting, you really already kind of have a handle on the basic gist of the controls and such. Well, anyways, MW2, played the campaign, loved it, thought it was incredible. I thought it was even a notch up from COD 4. And my brother was playing a lot of the multiplayer at the time, my younger brother. And I started playing a little bit of the multiplayer with some of my friends, and I thought that it was absolutely awesome. Got really hooked on it very quickly. Started playing a lot of just, team deathmatch. And, I was, there was a bunch of, we were playing a number of different game modes, mainly team deathmatch, though, just kind of really getting familiarized with multiplayer and just Xbox Live as a whole, because I really hadn't played it up to this point. Well, come to find that my brother was starting to trick shot in Call of Duty. And at first I didn't know what trickshotting was, but then I start, kind of doing a little bit some research on it, start seeing it, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is actually really creative. This is really cool. It was something that I really enjoy, that I really thought I would enjoy, because I looked at not only the campaign modes in these games. So I love campaign modes. I used to be an achievement junkie. I used to love going after achievements in different games. I would actually just get games from GameFly or from Blockbuster at the time, and I would rent those games, and I would just go after the achievements. I would even look online to see which ones were the easiest to get achievements, because I always wanted to get a bunch of achievements. I just thought that was really a cool feature on Xbox. But anyways, it kind of opened my eyes to that creativity again. You have the campaign modes, which is like, man, this is so creative. This is so cool. These different story modes, and they come to life and you play those characters. Well, this was another way that seemed creative. Like the community was being creative by doing trickshotting. And so that was, around the time that we started watching FaZe Clan and other clans that were coming up. And so we really got into trickshotting. I got very much so into it, to the point where we started a trickshotting clan, and then we ended up joining teams, different clans and such trickshot teams, and that was like a really fun time in Call of Duty between Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2, or kind of even through Black Ops 2. That was where the trickshotting community was at its peak, and even like sniping teams, like teams that would go for feeds, or for like really awesome sniping kills, quad collats, and all these different all this different terminology, right, in sniping, and which was awesome. So, but with trickshotting, guys, for those of you who aren't familiarized with trickshotting, essentially it was, for the most part, sniping. You would take a sniper rifle and you would do, essentially we started off by jumping off a high elevated building, and you spin around like 360. So you spin around 360 and you try to hit the guy. You hit like an opponent, of course, somewhere on the map, wherever they are, and you try to get it as like a final kill cam. So like in Search and Destroy, we would you'd kill all of the, basically the other team, and once they were on the last person alive, everyone would go for trick shots, trying to hit a cool looking trick shot with that last person alive. And then this created a lot of, people setting up, like the person on the other team would like stand there while you're trying to go for a trick shot. And, it was just like a really interesting time in the community. I'll never forget that. It was a really awesome time. It was just a lot of fun. I mean, spent so much time playing, trick shotting, which at the, now that I look back on it, it's like, man, I could have done so much other stuff within Call of Duty, like creating more content and stuff at that time. But you see, guys, back then, we didn't really know what this was all going to be. We knew YouTube was, of course, growing and all that. We saw the community was growing. We saw FaZe was growing. Optic was growing. We saw all these things. I just wish that sometimes I kind of wish that if I were to have been able to go back, I would have really focused so much more on just content, not so much trying to hit trick shots and that be the content. I would just try to, if I'm, hitting trick shots or not, still creating content. And I think like, that kind of brings me to where we are as far as on this YouTube channel. I mean, since we started the channel on, July 24th of 2018, we haven't missed a day of uploading. And so you can see kind of, growth is slow, guys, but it just takes time. And I wish that I would have been able to do that back in the day. Obviously, I have no regrets like playing that much with my friends and just making those memories, things that we can talk about and think about for years to come now. But it's just it's a beautiful thing. I mean, really is, like, thinking back on it, and, a lot of potential there. I thought we had, joining different trick shot teams or sniping teams and creating teams of our own. I remember a couple of them, one of them being Tron. We created a team called Tron, and then we also created, I joined a team called Animal, which was like, I really, one of the best logos in all of esports, or I should say all of gaming. In my opinion, I would have loved to see Animal become something more than just a gaming team, like an esports team. I think that would have been really awesome. But just so many different teams that I was kind of, would play in or be a part of for a period of time. And that was kind of like that time where there was so much clan hopping and people were jumping around from team to team, and it was all about, like, people trying to stay loyal to a specific team. It was really interesting, a very interesting time. But anyways, guys, MW2 is kind of where it started, right, for Call of Duty for me. Then we move onwards, and where I really, you have Black Ops 1, you have MW3, but you also have Black Ops 2. And Black Ops 2, guys, I mean, I pretty much stayed committed to playing each of the Call of Duties up to this point. But it always seemed like with Black Ops 1 would come back to MW2. MW3, we would come back to MW2. But Black Ops 2 is kind of where everything changed. We had Black Ops 2 was, the trick shotting was on another level. You could do even more like creative trick shots in BO2, which I thought was awesome. And the sniping was great. It was just overall a well-balanced game, in my opinion. I believe to this day that Black Ops 2 was the best Call of Duty ever made. It was the best. MW2 takes a very close second, but I just believe that Black Ops 2 was number one, in my opinion. Not only for trick shotting, sniping, pub stomping. You could do whatever you wanted, but I thought it was also really good for esports. I thought it was well balanced for the esports side, and I would love to see that game, kind of I don't know if it remastered or whatever, but I want to see the pros kind of back on that game again and playing Black Ops 2 again, or something very similar to that, because I thought it was just the best overall Call of Duty ever made. Even with the campaign mode, I thought campaign was great. I know a lot of people like zombies. I was never a huge zombies fan, but overall, guys, it was just a great game. Very fun, great experiences, and that was where even more creativity came in. But I just felt like all these years, guys, between MW2 and BO2, those were the years where I could have been making so much more content like we're doing here today, but that was when we were still trick shotting and really into it. I can honestly say, like, the furthest I got, guys, not really with trick shotting, but I was actually a leader of a team, as far as I would try to help lead teams and such. And, kind of create content for those teams. And so that's what we did a lot of. And you guys can see a lot of the videos that I used to make in Call of Duty. A lot of those were news-based videos or just videos about Call of Duty and such. And those are all have been re-uploaded on my second channel, 02. You guys can check those out at some point or another if you'd like. But hundreds of videos that I made, right? Well, anyways, BO2 was kind of like the pinnacle. It was like the peak of the Call of Duty community. And that's kind of where, how as a whole I got into COD. I got into Call of Duty, guys, based around COD 4 and interest in it, and then everybody's playing Modern Warfare 2, and I'm playing that as well, and then it just went to another level with Black Ops 2, put a ton of time into Black Ops 2, and the rest really is history. I mean, I've put a lot of time into Call of Duty, but nothing like MW2 and BO2. I mean, I stopped playing as significantly with some of the newer Call of Duties, that being, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare. And then I started playing more again once we had World War II, Black Ops 4, of course, Modern Warfare coming out. But that was kind of how I got into it. I got into it because I picked the game up. I was like, man, this Call of Duty game, it looks cool. You know, my friends were really into war games as well. And so I was like, you know, I'm going to give this a shot. I only had the campaign mode, or I was only able to play offline, played campaign, and fell in love with Call of Duty. And that's just how the story kind of started for me. But now I want to talk about the rise, the fall, and then what seems to be the resurrection of Call of Duty. So let's talk about it. So guys, as I said, I'm going to be referencing some articles here as well as we go through the podcast here. And as you guys know, if you've watched previous episodes of the 8 Below show, you of course know that I like to reference some articles, give you guys a little bit of some context, and then I'll give you guys some of my opinions and such. And so that being said, when we talk about the rise, the fall, and the resurrection or supposed resurrection of Call of Duty, I want to just kind of mention a couple of things here, that being where we were and what happened, and then of course where we're possibly going or potentially going now. This article, guys, was written by Callum Inwood. This was back in September, but that being said, it's an article that was written by Real Opinions, or I should say Real Sport, but Real Opinions, guys. I'm going to skip down a little bit here to where he says, I was not brought up in this jetpack generation. I started off my Call of Duty career like many other players with arguably the best COD of all time, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Just the name brings a wave of good memories, from ninja defusing and sniping to getting out of the map on old school mode on the maps Backlot and Crossfire. From COD 4 to Black Ops 3, I loved every minute of playing each of the games that was released over the years. So he's kind of similar to me as far as what he enjoys or where he kind of started as far as Call of Duty is concerned with Call of Duty 4. Now, disagree with Black Ops 3. I was not a fan whatsoever of any of the jetpacks. The jetpack generation certainly bothered me as well. I thought that the rise, guys, was Black Ops 2, in my opinion. I thought we had the rise of Black Ops 2. Of course, Call of Duty Ghosts, you look back on Ghosts and it's like, actually, that wasn't that bad of a game considering what came next, which was, of course, Advanced Warfare, which, let's be real, guys. When Advanced Warfare first was announced, it was like, okay, it sort of looks like Halo. It sort of looks like maybe, you know, something else like Titanfall or, you know, one of these other games, but it looks different. So, okay, let's give it a shot. A lot of, you know, there's been a lot of the same old with Call of Duty. So let's try something new with Call of Duty, even though it didn't feel like Call of Duty because, you know, obviously Call of Duty, guys, at its core is boots on the ground, gritty, intense matchups. That's all it was, and guys, and that's really, you know, even if we're talking slightly futuristic with like the Black Ops series, I mean, a little bit of some futuristic weapons and such, it never really felt like Halo or something until we got Advanced Warfare, and that's where things changed, and where I think the biggest problem with what Activision did with going the jetpack generation, as some of us call it, what I will say about that is this. They didn't just do one game that was the jetpack game. It was the jetpack games, which is what I think people were so bothered and annoyed by. And I can honestly say that was probably what hurt the Call of Duty community more than anything. Advanced Warfare was an idea. It's like, hey, here's this idea. What do you guys think about it? But no, they didn't do that. It was, let's do this, but we also greenlit 2 more of these, you know, that are being made as we speak. And that's what we ended up getting because, of course, Call of Duty comes out every single year. We got a Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, followed by Black Ops 3, followed by Infinite Warfare, which, of course, guys, there was significant decline from Advanced Warfare, in my opinion. When you talk about the jetpack games, I know a lot of people say Black Ops 3 was the best. In my opinion, Advanced Warfare was the best, just because I thought that, you know what, if you're go big or go home, you jump like 50 feet in the air, you know, all of that, this unrealistic movement system, it was just kind of, the exosuits and all that, it was interesting. And then the You know, the campaign was interesting. It was kind of like its own thing. Black Ops 3, like, I liked it to a degree, but they kind of got into the specialists and such. And the specialist, that was kind of something. I know that they were trying it, but another thing that I just thought really hurt this franchise, not necessarily the specialists, but man, the jetpacks hurt this franchise so much because we just lost more and more people. Right? When you had Call of Duty Ghosts, sure, the reception and the public reception of it was relatively rough. I mean, it wasn't great, right? I thought that the campaign was actually pretty good. I thought it was a massive cliffhanger, which we will probably never know what happens because I don't think they're ever going to go back to Call of Duty Ghosts 2. Maybe they will, but I thought that the campaign was good. The multiplayer, I agree with most people that the multiplayer, there was only a couple of good maps. I think Strikedown was probably my favorite map, if that's what I think it was called. That was like my favorite map, and then all the other maps I didn't think were that great. So what ended up happening with Ghost, guys? We all went back to Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2. What happened with Advanced Warfare when that came out? That comes out. We're playing that for a few months, and then we all went back to the older CODs. Then comes Black Ops 3, the same thing. Rinse and repeat, guys. The Rise, which was BO2. Modern Warfare 2, BO2. I mean, you could even argue Ghost, but I don't think that was Peak. Peak was BO2 without a question, and MW2, and even COD 4. Those were peaks. Then you started having the decline with Ghost, Advanced Warfare, BO3, and then Infinite Warfare was bottom of the barrel. Then we talk about the Rise, or I should say the Resurrection. But here's where it went wrong in his opinion. The franchise hasn't been as successful since Black Ops 2, with the likes of Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, and Black Ops 3 all being controversial games. Where it really changed for me was Infinite Warfare. I went from spending an average of 10 days playing time on each COD to more like 12 hours. Why? Had I burned out on playing Call of Duty? No. Infinite Warfare was just a poorly thought out and executed game. Since then, I found myself playing other games and leaving Call of Duty on the shelf, as did many others. However, after the Modern Warfare beta that was live on PlayStation 4, the feeling of gloom towards the series has suddenly disappeared, and I cannot wait to play this weekend coming. Don't get me wrong, it has its ups and downs, but the potential is unfathomable with the mechanics of the game all pointing in the right direction. Modern Warfare could be a Call of Duty savior and a return to the glory days of COD. Okay, so I'm going to agree to disagree with some of the things that he's saying here. One thing I will say is when he said Infinite Warfare, he says everything changed with Infinite Warfare. No, it didn't change with Infinite Warfare. It changed with Advanced Warfare. It started there, and that started it all. That started the problems in Call of Duty as we know it now. Those, in my opinion, were the dark ages of Call of Duty. I would especially say not so much Advanced Warfare, that started it, but I feel Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare were the dark ages of COD. Because Advanced Warfare was a new idea. I thought that, hey, you know what? This is the COD for the year. Hopefully they don't do this again. They learned that we don't really want this. But they didn't. They did a Black Ops 3 with jetpacks, and they did Infinite Warfare with jetpacks. That was the dark ages of Call of Duty, in my opinion. Now, he's saying that Modern Warfare could be the savior. Okay. I gotta disagree with this slightly as well. Sure, could it be the next best Call of Duty? I believe it could be. But I will say this. World War II was a step in the right direction. Lots of problems with the game. I thought the campaign was pretty good once again. It really portrayed World War II in a very well done, in my opinion. The multiplayer, I just wasn't really feeling it. I didn't think it was that great, but they went back to what made Call of Duty great. Battlefields, not skate parks and aquariums, fighting on actual gritty, war battlefields, right? That was a step in the right direction, as well as boots on the ground, which is what everybody wanted, okay? So that's where it started. Black Ops 4, in my opinion, is one of the best CODs made. I feel that the one thing it's lacking is, of course, a campaign. It's missing a campaign. A campaign with that game, I think it could have been one of the best. I know there were people that had issues with Black Ops 4, but in my opinion, that was the real, push in the right direction. World War II got us started, kind of like Advanced Warfare, led us into the Dark Ages. World War II led us into what now I believe is going to be the golden days again of Call of Duty, leading us from World War II to Black Ops 4 and now into Modern Warfare. And I think we're going to be back to form with Modern Warfare, which I just do. I think that we got to give it some more time, obviously, but the hype is real. People seem to be enjoying the game tremendously at this point. So I got to say this, guys. Modern Warfare very well might be the next step for us in Call of Duty. It may be that next push, that next move into the light once again, something that we've had not enough of in Call of Duty because of those dark ages of Call of Duty with really Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, in my opinion. Now, he goes on to saying, restoring the good name of Call of Duty. First, let's talk about the basics. The game looks amazing. When playing each map, you can really tell the time and effort put in. From the puddles on the floor and cracks in the walls to the brake discs on the MET police car on Hackney Yard. Just little things like these give you a sense that developers do care about their game. The movement mechanics don't consist of flying soldiers with exosuits. No, it's better. It's much more creative. Boots on the ground. Surprising, I know, but wow, does it feel better than ever to be able to not have to shoot the enemy out of the sky. I know that Black Ops 4 was also boots on the ground, but it quickly grew stale as it just felt like a reskin of BO3. This feels fresh and engaging. Certain attachments weigh you down. You can lean around corners, mount guns on walls, and so much more. All of this together gives you so many variations of being able to play the game in different styles, and it feels good. Sound is a key aspect of the game, and coming from myself who is half deaf, MW is immersive. When I hear my claymore go off or shooting a shot from the AX-50 sniper, it all brings back nostalgia of using the PTRS-41 from World at War. Really is saying something. However, footsteps need to be fixed. Is it an enemy? Is it a teammate? Who knows, as everything sounds the same. Just a few small adjustments and it would be perfect. Here's the thing. I got to disagree with this Black Ops 4. I know a lot of people did not enjoy, a lot of people didn't enjoy Black Ops 4. A lot of people did enjoy it. To say it's a reskin of Black Ops 3 is insulting, in my opinion, because Black Ops 3 was jetpacks, and that's completely different from what Black Ops 4 was. Now, I understand that people said that Black Ops 4 looked like, or it was originally going to be a jetpack game, but it's not. It's not a jetpack game. And to say it's a reskin of BO3, I mean, sure, some of the weapons may be the same. It is Black Ops, so I would assume some things would be a little bit the same. But I disagree with the notion that it's a reskin. I understand the specialists and all of that. I feel like they took what with Black Ops 3, they took what worked and they made it better in Black Ops 4. And I think they added a couple of new things to it. They focused solely on multiplayer. So I don't know. I didn't feel like it grew stale, really. I'll tell you what I thought grew stale was prestiging. I think prestiging has become something that's becoming increasingly stale because they don't really give you much for prestiging. There's not much reason to prestige. So that's something that I will certainly knock Call of Duty for. They need to make prestiging amazing again. They really do, because back in the day is when it was absolutely at its peak with like the 10th Prestige Medallion in Modern Warfare 2, and then in Black Ops 2 when you could get, the different cool skins on your guns, like the diamond camo, and then you could also, of course, get that Prestige Master. And it was just really, those were the fun days of grinding. There was a reason to grind all the time. Now it just doesn't feel like there's much reason to, because the little emblems and such really don't, you can barely even see them, first of all, on screen, but it just doesn't mean as much as it used to. Gotta disagree, though, with this reskin of Black Ops 3. 100% disagree with that. I will agree with the footsteps. not knowing if it's a teammate or an enemy. That's 100% true. That, of course, came from really the beta, of course. When people were playing the beta, they were saying that, and I agree with that the footsteps certainly did need to be fixed. And there's absolutely no doubt about that. Now, the next thing, guys, is will we ever have maps like MW2? The peak of the Call of Duty franchise for many was Modern Warfare 2 because it was a truly great online multiplayer experience. The main reason was that it had the best maps of any Call of Duty game. This was because of the diversity in each maps and all the good spots there were, such as being able to get on top of high-rise or the multiple levels seen in Favela. Infinity Ward highlighted at E3 that this is something that they wanted to bring back to the maps in MW. Lots of different spots for players to find or secret ledges to stand on and so forth. Those beta maps, guys, Azir Cave, Grozna Raid, Hackney Yard, Gun Runner, although having only 4 maps available to us so far is a small slither of what's to come, the beta maps are all very fun to play and have various different ways to play them, which catering to all player types and multiple classes. My favorite so far is Hackney Yard, the smallest out of all 4, allows me to pull out the MP5 or MP7 and get right in amongst the action, especially in domination, where the B flag is kept. You will never be short of a gunfight exchange. So, a couple of things here, guys, about the maps. One thing that I just want to mention, okay, the maps are cool, right, in Modern Warfare. I think that they're all great. Not all of them, but of course some of they are good. I like the palette, the color palette they used on Modern Warfare. It's kind of like a grayish, grindy, type, like almost sandy as well, color palette that they used in this game that reminds me of Modern Warfare or COD 4 as well as Modern Warfare 2. So I like that a lot. The maps are cool. Here's my only thing about it. And I've had this issue since gosh, it's been a while. I would say probably since Ghosts, in all seriousness. Probably since Ghosts. Why is it that so many of the maps nowadays are not just one word? I feel like the maps back in the day that were so iconic were maps that were only one word. Strike Down from Call of Duty Ghosts, which is what I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was Strike Down. You look at Favela, High Rise, Raid, Standoff, Standoff's probably my favorite map of all time with Call of Duty, but all these are one word. I just don't understand. Why don't you just call it Hackney or, Runner or Grozna or Cave or, I don't know. Like, I just feel like these Azir Cave or Grozna Raid, Hackney Yard, like, I don't know. Like, it's cool to a degree. If you had a couple maps like that, I just think there's something that's missing there. It should just be one word, easy to remember. It's like, oh yeah, I'll tell you what. Favela is certainly that's the best map for Trickshotting, or Standoff. Man, that is the best competitive map, like period, on the competitive playlist. That's my biggest issue actually with the maps nowadays is just the names of them. Some of them are hard to pronounce too. I just had a trouble like pronouncing, some of the names on these. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing them right. So that's something that kind of bothers me a little bit about the maps. Obviously that's nitpicky about the names, but can we just go back to like the single name instead of like having 2 words? Can you just have a single word as a map? That would be absolutely awesome. Just come up with some creative stuff. That's what I think. New feature, new wrinkles. All the guns that were available in the beta are viable options when playing online. This is good because it allows there to be more variety on the battlefield. In previous titles, there has always been one good AR, one good SMG, and a sniper that every player will use. However, with the addition of Gunsmith, the possibilities and combinations are endless, from being able to make an AR and SMG, make guns slower and more accurate, or quicker and less accurate, or the perfect mix. This feature in the game is still something to be played around with into more depth. Nonetheless, is still amazing and looks very positive for the full release of the game, which obviously, guys, the game's already out. But, I gotta say, this is another thing that I kind of have trouble. It kind of bothers me. More does not necessarily mean better, as far as like with guns and stuff, having all these attachments. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing. The basic simplistic things were what we all loved about Call of Duty way back in MW2, Black Ops 2, simplistic things, simple emblems and different icons that people coveted, things to grind towards, different, just regular, a few different attachments on each gun. Basic, simple things to understand were what we all loved. I mean, that's what we loved about it. And I just feel like there's so many different attachments on these guns. And not that that's a horrible thing or anything. It's just kind of unfortunate that it's becoming, they're trying to push so much more when it's like, hey, can we just have a little bit of some less and, kind of go from there? Maybe you can add things along the way, but it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting that. No more complicated perk system. Another reason this Call of Duty looks set to be great is they have done away with the ridiculous perk system of recent games. No more having to pick between having only a lethal grenade and no tactical, or 3 perk 1 slots and no perk 2 or 3. The golden era lives on with having to have one of each, like Modern Warfare 2. Players will have to pick 1 perk from each perk 1, 2, and 3 slot, as well as having 1 lethal and 1 tactical grenade. I feel as though this was the right direction to go in, because previously in COD, you may have had to run an extra perk just to be able to play the game and lose out on all the fun of using a stun grenade. I am certain that this list will grow as more is accessible in the upcoming open beta and full launch of the game too, allowing even more flexibility and playability. I agree with this overall. I don't think they need a complicated perk system. Make it easy. And I think the same should be said for the attachments on guns. Lastly, guys, will there be a letdown? The mini-map controversy has been a whirlwind that is still running through the COD community. There is still plenty of scope for the massive 64-player game modes to go awry, but so far, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is looking like a remarkable game that should bring the good times back to the franchise. If they can include things like the MW2 range of calling cards and emblems that will let players show off their skills and achievements while maintaining the strong gameplay and depth of multiplayer game modes, then there is no reason this game can't find a stop high atop the list of best shooters, never mind COD games, of all time. Pump the brakes, my guy. No, I do think Modern Warfare is a great game, though, guys. In all reality. What I will say is this. Minimap controversy obviously was a big ordeal. There's been, things that people have been, reaching out to Infinity Ward about in Activision saying, hey, can you change these things? We want these things changed. Will there be a letdown, though? Look, guys, microtransactions and, things of that nature, I think, are also things that may let us down somewhat. But even more so than microtransactions, I just think the game itself, like the rank up systems, all of those things, the different items that you can earnable items, I think is very important. Earnable items versus that you can buy inside of a loot box or inside of a microtransaction are two completely different things. I don't know if there's going to be a letdown. I don't know. I hope not. I hope there's not. I mean, all of us understand that these developers and the publishers need to make money, right? So microtransactions are something that we just have to accept, right? On top of that, though, I just feel that, please, I just want things to be fair in a way in which where, there's earnable items that you have to earn. You can't buy them. And then there's things that you can just buy that are other like cosmetic-based items. Those are the things that I think made the community so great back in the day, was just earning stuff, earning that 10th Prestige medallion. It was so heavily and highly coveted that people went into botted lobbies. They boosted up to get that 10th Prestige medallion and have get everything unlocked and such because it was so sick. And Those were the days. Those were awesome. And I would love to see those days return, but just not the hacking, obviously. I want to see people actually have to earn the stuff that they get in-game. But let me know what you guys think about that. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you guys think about all of this? The rise, the fall, and what I believe is the resurrection of Call of Duty. Let me know what you guys think about that. Next, guys, I want to talk about the Call of Duty League, and is it going to be the next big esport? I should say, the next one of the biggest esports. Could Call of Duty now with the Call of Duty League become one of the biggest esports to watch, similar to like CSGO and what Overwatch is doing? Could Call of Duty do that and slowly but surely build and grow more than it ever has in the past? Let's talk about it. So guys, let's talk about the Call of Duty League. I think that this is a good place that, to kind of pick up where we left off with the, that rise, fall, and now, of course, what I believe the resurrection of Call of Duty as we know it. With the Call of Duty League being, announced, obviously going into full force at this point, could this become the next esport that, was kind of small for a period of time, for I should say a long period of time? Call of Duty has been just, it's certainly not one of the biggest esports out there. I would say it's kind of like, middle of the pack sort of esport. But could this take it over the edge? Kind of like with Overwatch. Could it become as big as like Overwatch? Could it become as big as CSGO? This franchising, I think, it might do a lot more than what people may think. And in an article that was written by Dean Takashi, it was written, and of course is on VB. He says, Call of Duty League, how Activision reimagined its city-based esports structure. And of course, guys, this was written back in October, but nonetheless, I think we got some good points here. You've got taking lessons from the success of the Overwatch League, Activision has revamped the structure of its esports competition in the newly rechristened Call of Duty League. The new league is now ready to share a lot about how it is reinventing the league for the new era of esports. That includes a structure for city-based teams, a way for fans to compete, and the pop culture intersections that could entertain the audience more, said Johanna Faris, a former NFL executive who is now Call of Duty League commissioner. I spoke with Faris, who has been at Activision Blizzard for about 14 months, about these changes. Call of Duty is a pop culture phenomenon, and it allows us to think how cultural relevance comes in. How do we entertain with a mainstream lens, Faris said. It's very popular with celebrities and influencers around the world, and it's special to bring those things together. I used to be with the NFL, and I was aware of how popular the game was with athletes. Expect more to happen there for sure. She wouldn't confirm it, but many sources say that the cost of buying a franchise slot in the league is $25 million per squad, with 12 professional teams across 11 markets in North America and Europe. Activision has collected an estimated $300 million in fees from the teams. There are teams in the United States, United Kingdom, France, and Canada. In turn, Activision will invest that money to help turn the league into a cultural phenomenon, much like it did with Blizzard's Overwatch League. Activision Blizzard is the parent company for both Activision and Blizzard. The league will award $1 million in prizes for amateurs across online and local events. We don't disclose our economic terms, Ferry said. Call of Duty is huge, as you know. It has been that way for 16 years. What we are doing is taking it to new heights. We are sharing the scale and the philosophy behind the new league. We are excited about the ownership groups that are coming to our inaugural league season starting in early 2020. The Overwatch Team Burst started out at $20 million, and now they are going for $40 million to $50 million. That has quickly turned those teams into valuable properties, a reflection of the growth of the league. We learned a lot from the Overwatch League, she said. It's part of the advantage of being in the same esports family. We both have a big 2020 ahead of us going into our city markets. As with the Overwatch League, one of the big changes is that esports organizations will have to create new team names that are used only with the Call of Duty League teams. that doesn't sit well with some of the teams that have been around for a long time and have a lot of equity built into their names. But it's sort of like the NBA only allows a team with the Golden State Warriors name to play in its league as opposed to other basketball leagues. Some teams are embracing the chance to create new brands like the London Royal Ravens, which I think is a fantastic name, by the way. I'm excited about the brand reveals that we will see over the next few weeks, Fari said. And with the Call of Duty League, Activision wants to see the same trajectory happen. The Call of Duty League will have 26 events in Season 1, with the season spanning 28 weeks, beginning in early 2020. There will be 2 splits, not counting the postseason. Players will fight each other in 5 versus 5 competition in Call of Duty Modern Warfare on the PlayStation 4. The host cities are spread out, and the teams will host 2 home games during the regular season. Online ladders for Call of Duty Modern Warfare are scheduled to open November 2nd after players get some practice with the new game that debuts on October 25th. The first online tournament is scheduled to begin November 9th, and registration opens October 30th, 2019 for online Call of Duty Challenger events. In 2020, the Call of Duty League City Circuit will debut, taking casual competition to a new level by giving fans a chance to compete on behalf of the Call of Duty League teams. Fans will sign up as duos to compete in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2v2 gunfight matches for a chance to win prizing and to compete at a major Call of Duty League event. Fari said that she expects big brands will participate as they have over the years with various Call of Duty activations. There is more to come around. World-class brand partnerships that you can expect around this league, she said. We are proud of the momentum that is building there. Call of Duty as a franchise is no stranger to phenomenal brand partnerships and brand activations. I noted the controversy that Blizzard ran into as one of its Hearthstone esports champions voiced support for Hong Kong in a struggle with China and how he got banned. Fari said her team is evaluating what kind of policy to create on that front for the Call of Duty League. So, guys, I think the big question is this Call of Duty League going to be as big as, say, Overwatch and CSGO? And I believe it does have the potential for that, because I believe Overwatch has the potential of becoming one of the biggest first-person shooters, which no one thought was going to happen, because it's really not a game. It's like a cluster of a game. It doesn't really seem like a game that people would actually like watching, but it just so happens that there is an audience for it. Activision Blizzard, they know what they're doing. They're obviously doing something right as far as, promoting this IP. I believe Call of Duty, one of the biggest brands in all the world when it comes to video games, I'm sure that they could certainly become one of the biggest esports in the world over time. I should say, like, one of the biggest first-person shooters over time, right? Because I think it's very possible. I just do. I think it's significantly possible that we will see Call of Duty Modern Warfare and just the future of that, moving forward with this Call of Duty League. I really think that they've done a really good job. And I know a lot of people say the logo looks really bland with the 3 pillars, but that symbolizing, of course, the pro league, the semi-pro, the amateur league, and then, of course, the fan base or just the fans of Call of Duty. I love it. I love everything that it's kind of that they are putting on the Call of Duty League. I love what I see so far from it, and I just hope to see this game grow and grow, and the Call of Duty League itself grows to something like a household name, like the OWL probably will become. CDL, OWL, will those become the next NFL, MLB, NHL? We're going to find out, guys, but I think there's a very good chance that these are going to become household names in just sports in general. But once again, I'd love to hear from you guys about that. What do you guys think? Do you think they'll become household names? Do you think Call of Duty League will become the biggest first-person shooter esport? Let's move on to the next topic, which I would like to talk about. Modern Warfare and Black Ops, these 2 franchises that are, or I should say, sub-series of the overall franchise that is Call of Duty. I want to talk about, could we be seeing a Modern Warfare and Black Ops cycle each year as we go? And we'll explain that, here right now. I definitely want to kind of get into that. Will we see Modern Warfare and Black Ops kind of alternate each year? Let's talk about it. So Modern Warfare and Black Ops, guys, the 2 most popular sub-series within Call of Duty as a whole. And this is just a theory I have, or kind of something that I want to bounce off of you guys regarding Modern Warfare as well as Black Ops. Do you guys think that Modern Warfare and Black Ops, since it sounds like obviously Sledgehammer Games is now merging into Treyarch to help out with Raven Software and such with the campaign of the next Black Ops game, and they are making that game going to be coming out in 2020, do you guys think that we're going to be seeing Modern Warfare and Black Ops, those two games, alternate each year? So like in 2020, it'll be Call of Duty Black Ops, and will it be just a soft reboot like Modern Warfare? And then the following year, in 2021, will we see Modern Warfare again? And then Black Ops in 2022, and then alternate, so on and so forth, between those two sub-series within the overall, that is, of course, Call of Duty. I think that there is a very good chance that we could see this, and what they may be doing, guys, is we wouldn't see like another Modern Warfare 2. It would just be Modern Warfare, but it's just kind of, they maybe change or add a few things to Modern Warfare while that next game is coming into play, which is Black Ops. And they kind of alternate, like I said, between each game, but these are the two games that they kind of stick to. They don't really necessarily go outside the box and make a Ghost 2 or an Advanced Warfare 2 or an Infinite Warfare, 2. They kind of stick with the two sub-series that they know are going to be successful, and they just kind of take those two and they say, look, this is the game. These are the two games, and we're just going to kind of mold these each year into becoming better and better games, and maybe adding new maps, adding new features each year, instead of doing like that, every year it's a different Call of Duty. It's like we get somewhat a new Call of Duty. It's just kind of a refreshed Call of Duty Modern Warfare or a refreshed Call of Duty Black Ops. It's something that I've been thinking about for quite some time now, and I do think it's definitely possible. I don't see why they would go back to what they did do, because obviously those dark ages of Call of Duty, as we spoke and mentioned earlier in the show, I thought that those dark ages of Call of Duty were with Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare. Don't ever go back down that road again, because you already lost so much of the fan base. What will bring the fan base back in a major way, not only is Modern Warfare, because I think that'll help, and Black Ops, boots on the ground, keep it boots on the ground, I think that will as well. But what Call of Duty is. What Call of Duty needs to do, I think now, is to stick with Modern Warfare and Black Ops. You stick with those two, and you just, every year, you're molding and making these games better and better. You look at games like CSGO. It's been around for 20 years. They're celebrating the 20-year anniversary. It's like something is working with this game. It's people enjoy CSGO. Something's working there. Something's working with League of Legends. I mean, these are older games. They might not be, up to date with the graphically and such, but they're doing something right. People just really enjoy them. So stick with Modern Warfare and Black Ops, the two most beloved of the Call of Duty franchise, and just mold it and make it better and better over time. And I think that you just can't go wrong with that. I really don't. But there is a possibility, obviously, guys, that they're going to not go that route. But I think that there's a possibility that they will go that route. I don't know. It's hard to say. I really hope that we see it that way, though. Like, I wouldn't even mind seeing all the companies come on Modern Warfare, or all of them go on Black Ops, and that's all they work on is Black Ops or Modern Warfare, or a completely new title that is everything that we love about Call of Duty, like kind of like Call of Duty Mobile. It's kind of like all the worlds together. They're all working together in unison, and that's the game that we play for the next 10 years. Because it's always like this grind that you got to, each year it's a new Call of Duty and you're grinding and grinding. I just think it would be so cool to see Modern Warfare and Black Ops every other year. You see like a new it's like new, but it's just added stuff and maybe updated graphics and such. I don't know, guys. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while. Could we get that? Let me know what you guys think about that, guys. And that kind of leads me into the next thing, which is COD back? Is Call of Duty, guys, back as we know it? Let's talk about it. So, is Call of Duty back, guys? I've got to say it is, but it wasn't Modern Warfare, in my opinion, that really started, or I guess brought Call of Duty back. I actually think it was World War II was the first step, and that kind of began what we have now. World War II started it, bringing us back from the dark ages of Call of Duty, from that of Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, that jetpack era that lots of people did enjoy. I'm not going to, say that no one liked the jetpacks, because there was still a substantial amount of people that thought it was really cool. The jetpacks were a lot of fun. But I will say, guys, the hardcore Call of Duty fans know that it was not those were not games that people really enjoyed as far as for a Call of Duty experience. Like a Halo experience, Titanfall experience, then yes. But for a Call of Duty experience, that boots on the ground feel, that exciting grind that people would put in, gritty feel, playing on battlefields, it was lost for a long time. It felt like a long time because it was Advanced Warfare to Black Ops 3 to Infinite Warfare. It was like, man, when is it gonna end? World War II started it. It started bringing us back to what we love and loved about Call of Duty. It started us, being back on a basis of, boots on the ground, obviously. Pretty exciting campaign. Multiplayer wasn't, great, but it was a start. Stepping stone to Black Ops 4, which I think is one of the best CODs that's ever been made. I mean, it was probably, it's up there, in my opinion. If it had a campaign, I think it would be absolutely incredible. I think it would have been one of the best, in my opinion. If it had a campaign, I would put it up there with some of the best. It wouldn't be above Black Ops 2 or MW2, probably not even COD 4, but it's up there, top 5, in my opinion, as far as the Call of Duty is concerned. So let's just put it this way. Black Ops 4 was another step in the right direction, okay? I think we can all agree to that. You had World War II was the first step. Second step was, of course, Black Ops 4, kind of really pushing us in that direction. And now with Modern Warfare, we're off to the races. Is COD back, guys? It was back when World War II was announced. When we got Call of Duty World War II, I had said to myself, this is the beginning of the comeback. This is going to be the resurrection from the fall that happened in the dark ages of Call of Duty. Call of Duty's back, guys. And it's been back now for a couple of years. In all reality, it has been back now for a couple of years. People will keep saying, is COD back? Is COD back? No, it's been back. It is back. It's been back since technically Black Ops 4, and now with Modern Warfare, the floodgates are open, guys. The amount of content, the amount of all of that, it's limitless, guys. Take advantage of it. If you're a Call of Duty creator, man, this is your moment, man. I used to love making Call of Duty content on my second channel, and I made a lot of videos. I have about close to 400 Call of Duty based videos, whether those are news videos or just Call of Duty videos. I'm passionate about Call of Duty, guys. You can check those out on Zero 2, but if you guys want to. But anyways, just the amount of passion and the grind, guys, for Call of Duty is here right now. And guys, you are in a great time period to be a part of the Call of Duty community. I will tell you that right now. If you saw what it was like way back in the day, it feels like with Modern Warfare 2, with COD 4, with Black Ops 2, we're getting back to that area, in my opinion. Okay? Started with World War II, Black Ops 4, top 5 Call of Duty all time. Modern Warfare, got to give it some more time. What do you guys think? Is it a top 5 Call of Duty all time? Where would you guys put it there? But I mean, guys, we are off to the races now. Who knows what the next Black Ops installment's going to look like? I got to say, guys, Call of Duty's back, and it's been back now for a couple of years. Take advantage of this. Take advantage of the opportunity at hand, guys. The Call of Duty League is here. You can, as an amateur or a semi-pro player, you have an opportunity here, and they're giving it to you that you can try to become a pro player. Or if you want to be a content creator or a YouTuber in Call of Duty, you can do that as well. All these things are here for the taking. You just got to grind and work really hard for it. There has never been a better time to be a part of Call of Duty, in my opinion, in the history of COD. Period. And guys, I played Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, when those games first came out. And I can say that was when the community was like really growing. It was like those were the building blocks to get us to where we are. And then a lot of it tumbled because of those 3 Call of Duties in the Dark Ages, as I call it. And now, guys, it's being rebuilt. World War II to Black Ops 4 to Modern Warfare to whatever comes next. Take advantage, guys. Black Ops, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, it's back, guys. It's better than ever, in my opinion. Take advantage of it, guys. Take advantage of it. Give criticism where it's due to the developers, but at the same time, guys, take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you. And with that, guys, I want to move into the next part of the podcast, which, of course, is, CSGO versus Call of Duty. And I thought that there was a really interesting article that came out about 10 reasons why CSGO is better than Call of Duty. Let's talk about it. So, guys, now we're going to be talking about CSGO versus Call of Duty. And I came across an article that I found pretty interesting. It's from 12 Up, guys, and was written by Nicholas Barth. And now, guys, you'll see that the date of this, he posted this a long time ago. But I still thought, guys, that we would talk about some of these things. Because I think it's a real topic for conversation, simply because of the Call of Duty League, with that coming, up, amongst other first-person shooters, guys. I mean, we are not even talking about Project A, which was announced by Riot Games, which I think could really be competing against all of the first-person shooters without a doubt. But with Overwatch, guys, as well as Call of Duty now, kind of hitting that franchise mode, and those games are now going to be, on the rise, especially Overwatch, and I think Call of Duty will be eventually too. But what does this do to Counter-Strike, a game that they haven't had much competition as far as at the esports realm? But let's talk about it. So the first-person shooter genre is very competitive. Multiple games are released each year trying to become the best in the land. 2 of the giants in this field are Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, but Counter-Strike is able to do many things better than Call of Duty. Here are 10 reasons why Counter-Strike is better than Call of Duty. Number 1, Counter-Strike is the most team-oriented FPS game on the market today. Winning a match requires you and your teammates to work together and know what each other is doing at all times. Gathering and sharing information are the keys to victory. The majority of the community knows this and helps each other flash doorways or rotate to where the enemy team is. A match in Call of Duty often entails every player being a lone wolf and trying to win the game by themselves. Overall, I agree with this. I do still think that there is strategy in Call of Duty, but if you want to go to like teamwork, I mean, here's the thing. It's hard to argue that CS doesn't take more teamwork because it's basically a search and destroy style. There's no other game modes. But at the same time, Call of Duty, on the flip side of that, has more game modes, which may make it more challenging at times. Like, you have more game modes. You're talking, hardpoint, search and destroy, there's uplink, all different kinds of different game modes that have come across Call of Duty, which you have to evolve and get, of course you have to learn, and your communication has to be on point for some of these things. So I'm going to say this. Counter-Strike, certainly, in my opinion, it does take a little more teamwork because obviously you need to know where your teammates are, but I don't think it's a significant jump as far as teamwork is concerned from that of Call of Duty, because Call of Duty has more game modes, and so the communication has to be on point with every game mode. It can't just be on point with one game mode. Sure, some game modes may require more teamwork and more communication than others, but I'll give it to them. I'll say, sure, Counter-Strike, requires a little more teamwork than Call of Duty. I'll give them that. Strategy. Throughout the years, Counter-Strike players have developed many strategies that can be used to win a match on certain maps. Win a match on certain maps. These strategies help make the game more interesting and exciting, as trying to execute them is much more rewarding than the mindless action packed into a Call of Duty game. Couple of things here. I would say that as far as strategy goes, Call of Duty probably isn't as strategic as that of Counter-Strike because you know, they play like all the same maps with Counter-Strike. They all, you know, they're all playing on the same maps, and they have been for years, right? There's new maps that are added onto it, but it's on search and destroy. So it's a search and destroy kind of format. So all they're doing is that one game mode on those maps. So everyone's trying to figure out the best way to do things. Call of Duty, to say it's mindless action is just, that's insulting. I don't think that it's mindless action, because there's a lot of skill that goes into Call of Duty, and there is absolutely no doubt about it. But when we talk about strategy, okay, as a whole, I'll give it to them. I will say Counter-Strike does have more strategy involved than Call of Duty. Less toxic community. There are some instances where you can find toxicity in the Counter-Strike community, but it is nowhere as prevalent as the Call of Duty community. I know my odds of signing online to play a game and hearing a high-pitched voice telling me that they engaged with my mother in some explicit activities, or that I should go rid the world of myself, is much greater. The way he said that is much greater in Call of Duty than in Counter-Strike, because it's so true about, you know, kids, you know, on Call of Duty screaming and stuff. Okay, sure. Is it more toxic? I mean, I don't know if that, because it's better, because it's less toxic. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think a lot of communities are toxic. Sure, maybe Call of Duty is a little more toxic because Call of Duty is basically the biggest game in the world. I mean, I would think that there is, you know, there's just a ton of people playing Call of Duty. Not saying there's not a lot of people playing Counter-Strike, but Call of Duty is the best-selling game every year. So obviously, yes, you're going to have some toxicity in Call of Duty, but sure, we'll give that one to Counter-Strike as well. Okay, so this one is skill, number 7. Counter-Strike takes an immense amount of skill in order to be great at the game. You can use attachments on your guns in order to help reduce the recoil and other mechanics of the game, such as what you're able to do in many Call of Duty titles. In Counter-Strike, you either learn how to handle recoil and aim for the head, because if you do not, someone who has will completely destroy you. I will disagree with this one. I'm not going to sit here and say that Counter-Strike takes more skill than Call of Duty. Here's why. I mean, if we're talking about like esports, and he's kind of talking, you know, playing at a high, you know, kind of talking about playing the game, right, and having an immense amount of skill. I would say that Call of Duty takes more skill because you're playing more game modes. You have to learn more of every angle of more game modes. Maybe not necessarily the maps themselves, which you got to learn as well. You also have to learn the mechanics of each of the guns. And remember this, guys, new Call of Duty every single year. CSGO's been the same for years, okay? For the most part. They add things, you know, every operation, but, you know, they don't come out with those every day. Call of Duty is coming out with a new COD every single year up to this point. And so to say that Counter-Strike takes more skill than Call of Duty is nonsense, in my opinion. I mean, because when you look at it, I'm not going to say that doesn't take skill. Counter-Strike takes an immense amount of skill. But Call of Duty, the fact that these professional players have to learn a game and stay consistent within each game that comes out in Call of Duty, which is every year learning new maps, learning new mechanics, going from jetpacks to no jetpacks, Going from just the immense amounts of changes that Call of Duty has on a given year, and on top of that, guys, I could make a case that even if they stayed on the same Call of Duty, the fact that they have more game modes that they utilize in the esports scene than in Counter-Strike, right there tells you that it just takes more skill. Now, if we're talking just overall, right, we're not really talking about esports, we're talking about an overall of the game, or the games, I should say. I don't know. I mean, even at that, it's hard for me to say, because I could jump on a game, and if I'm like a silver 2 or something, and I go up against other silver 2s, I mean, there's going to be, they're going to be people who are of my same skill. I just don't know. I just have a hard time agreeing with this notion that it takes more skill than Call of Duty. There's just so many more game modes to play in Call of Duty, and I think that makes it a little bit more challenging, to say the least. Number 6 is consistency. There have been 18 Call of Duty games released in the past decade and a half, while there have only been 4 Counter-Strike games released since 1999. I believe that the overall consistency between Counter-Strike titles makes them better than their Call of Duty counterparts, as fans know that they will be getting a well-done modern tactical shooter with each release. The Call of Duty community has to buy a brand new game every single year to keep up with the franchise. I mean, come on. I mean, consistency. Look, this once again is just utterly ridiculous. You're going to sit here and say that consistency in Counter-Strike, I mean, if anybody's consistent, it is Activision for making a new COD every year. That is a marvel in above itself, on top of a AAA title that is the best-selling title every year of every game. That is unbelievable. That is consistency, okay? Now, listen, Counter-Strike is, I mean, consistent, okay? But to say that it's just more consistent is utterly ridiculous. I mean, than Call of Duty. Call of Duty, in my opinion, guys, has got to be the most consistent franchise there is. Is it consistently making a good Call of Duty? No. Is it consistently making a bad Call of Duty? No. But it's consistently making a Call of Duty for the fan base. I mean, I don't know what I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. It is, at this point, more consistent than Counter-Strike. If you're going to be talking about, because what he's talking about specifically are the games being released, it's not even close. So we're moving on from that. Number 5 is better esports scene. There is no competition when it comes to the esports scene for Counter-Strike and Call of Duty. You can look to the E-League Major to see how truly dominant Counter-Strike esports is to Call of Duty esports. TBS broadcast the finals of the Major on live television, and the finals broke the Twitch record for most concurrent viewers of a single channel at one time, with over 1 million people watching as Astralis hoisted the trophy. The World Championship for Call of Duty this year will be lucky to have over 100,000 viewers. This is very true. Counter-Strike is greater than Call of Duty when it comes to esports. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Counter-Strike certainly has the numbers, the viewership to back it up against Call of Duty. Now, will that change with the Call of Duty League now being announced, or it's going into full force? Will Overwatch and other games be joining that as well? What I will say is this: Counter-Strike right now is greater than Call of Duty, and probably will be for a while. I don't think it'll be anytime soon that Call of Duty catches Counter-Strike as far as in the esports realm. And if it does, Counter-Strike will probably come out with a new game, and that very well may kind of put it back in their favor once again. So I agree with this. Larger Twitch community. Counter-Strike is always one of the top games being streamed on Twitch, and always has thousands of viewers tuning in to see their favorite esport event or streamer. You always know you can hop on Twitch and start chatting with thousands of other fans, watching some quality or funny Counter-Strike being played. Call of Duty has a big Twitch presence when a new title is released, a large esport event is being held, or when an opt-in gaming member is playing. When none of those things are going on, Call of Duty is a dead game on the Twitch directory. I mean, as far as Twitch goes, I mean, sure, Counter-Strike does have a bigger, bigger number of viewers. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Those are facts. What I will say though is that Call of Duty has a bigger celebrities, I guess, bigger the players that play in the esports realm of Call of Duty, or that do create content around Call of Duty and such, are much bigger than that of Counter-Strike. So I guess you could like kind of flip it a little bit, saying that sure, Counter-Strike is bigger than Twitch, is bigger than Call of Duty on Twitch, but Call of Duty has much bigger personalities. I mean, it just does. They got much bigger personalities. I mean, Scumpy alone is probably bigger than, I mean, any of the Counter-Strike pro players. Then you got Crim6, and I mean, just tons of other people. Then you talk about like T-Mart and Pro Syndicate, Dr. Disrespect, all these guys who are playing Call of Duty. I mean, sure, you could say Shroud, but Shroud doesn't even play CSGO anymore. So I would say that Call of Duty has a bigger, like the personalities on Call of Duty are much more popular than that of the CSGO personalities, because they create content, they do other things. The Call of Duty community is very centralized around content, and has been for years, and that's what has made them some of the biggest celebrities in esports and just in gaming in general. Number 3 is community creations. The Counter-Strike community is one of the best when it comes to creating their own content to be played in the game. Whether it be custom design maps or game modes, Counter-Strike has a lot to offer from its community designers, so that you can always have something to play if you get tired of the regular game. Since Call of Duty is mainly played on console, the community does not have the tools or access to create and enjoy community design content. Black Ops 3 has mod tool on PC, but that is only one game out of so many. Okay, I'll say this. Counter-Strike does have a bigger, maybe more content that can be created, I guess, around, having community, designers and community creations and such. But one community creation that would be bigger than probably what they're talking about here as far as the community creations or community designers was Call of Duty Trickshotting. Like, that was one thing that was absolutely massive back in Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, back in the day, guys. I mean, that's what started FaZe Clan. Sniping started Optic. So that was a niche area that was started by the community. Trickshotting was very much so started by the community. And so that was huge for a period of time. It grew FaZe, grew Optic, Trickshotting and Sniping. Right there, guys, that was a community creation that just ended up blowing up, and it ended up building Call of Duty to what it partially helped with building Call of Duty to what it is today. So this, I understand, maybe nowadays, but as far as if you're looking at the history of the community creations, I would say it's pretty neck and neck with this one. Number 2, competitive system. Counter-Strike Global Offensive has one of the most recognized ranking systems in the world of competitive gaming. In this ranked play, you are always striving to get better and push your way through the ranks to show everyone else how good you really are. Only a couple of Call of Duty games have even had a ranked playlist. Black Ops 2 and Advanced Warfare, and those only had a few ranks you could achieve in a short amount of time if you played enough. So I'll give CSGO this, without a doubt. It's got a better ranking system, period. The only thing, because you guys can see, guys, I'm a fan of CSGO, but I'm also a fan of Call of Duty. What I'm going to say, though, about this is, when you talk about ranking system, Call of Duty has a better, had a better ranking system, not necessarily that of competitive gaming, but in the form of prestiging and just playing the game normally. I would say it gives us a run for its money without even, it's not even close. I mean, you talk about 10th prestige on Modern Warfare 2. Talk about heavily coveted, man. I mean, people are boosting in lobbies trying to, get to that 10th prestige. The 10th prestige medallion was probably the most coveted item I've ever seen in my life in gaming as a digital item. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So if you're talking about competitive, okay, certainly CSGO takes the cake. But if we're talking about just, ranking systems in general, Call of Duty has it by such a far margin, and it's not even close. But if you're talking competitive, yes, that's absolutely true. Skins, number one. Yes, I know that Call of Duty has camos in all of their games and some very awesome ones, especially in Modern Warfare Remastered, but they come nowhere close to the skins of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. The designs for skins in CSGO are usually downright amazing, and certain ones are worth a lot of money in the Steam market. Community artists have the ability to create their own skins and have them put into the game for everyone to use. You just can't beat that. And you can't. That's very true. The skins for sure are better on CSGO, and there's no debating that. I mean, Call of Duty, they've had a lot of different skins, but a lot of times in the Call of Duties, they're kind of rinse and repeat a lot of like the same types of skins. So certainly, I will give CSGO that. But I just thought it was interesting to go through the 10, someone's, one opinion, and I know there's a lot of people who have opinions about this. I want to hear your guys' opinions. Do you guys agree with me on some of these? Do you disagree with me? Let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear from you guys. And this kind of leads me into the next thing, guys, which of course is video games and franchising and how games like Call of Duty and Overwatch and maybe CSGO one day, how this could really turn the tide of esports as we know it. So let's talk about it. So guys, video games and franchising, a huge topic of discussion that people have been bringing up, the pros, the cons to franchising. And I want to give you guys a little bit of my personal opinion with, of course, the Call of Duty League that, is kind of going into full swing and is going to be going into full swing here shortly. Obviously Overwatch, League of Legends. I'm sure there's going to be other games to join the franchise league model at some point or another. But here's why I believe that it's changing the game, guys, in a positive way. Do I think that all these leagues are going to make it? No, I don't think that. I believe there's going to be a lot of franchise leagues, and I think some are going to do very well. I think some will fail over time. But I think that's all things that we need in order to continue movement forward in esports as a whole. And so Activision Blizzard, they're at the forefront of this, guys, obviously with the Overwatch League as well as now the Call of Duty League. And I believe, guys, that OWL and CDL could very well become the next NFL, the next NBA, the next MLB. I really think that these could become household names in the world. In all reality, guys, I just believe that because we see the power of gaming, and if you take the power of gaming to a global scale in a franchise model, which is city-based, and you put it as city-based like globally around the world, it's not just based in the US, like in the Call of Duty League, obviously they have teams around the world. In the Overwatch League, teams around the world. League of Legends, around the world. I think when I'm talking about franchising, I'm talking more about like city-based stuff, guys. Like you look at the Call of Duty League or the Overwatch League, because League of Legends is more still organizations. It's not necessarily city-based. In Call of Duty and Overwatch, you have more city-based where it's like, if I'm near, Seattle, I can cheer for the Seattle Call of Duty team because, I live in Seattle and that's my team, that's my city's team. And so on and so forth. So that's where this is going to get very interesting, guys. We're seeing the early days of the NFL, but it's in the form of the CDL. We're seeing the early days of the MLB, Major League Baseball, in the form of the OWL, very possibly. Now, could the CDL and the OWL turn into like the XFL or the AAF or something along those lines, that like something that just fails, like doesn't work over time? Sure. But I think that we're moving in the right direction here, guys. I really do. I think Activision Blizzard doing these franchise leagues are setting the bar for what this could really look like, what esports could look like in 20 years. Very structured, where the players have to be paid a certain amount, where, of course, it's just more organized. Regular season, playoffs, championship. period. That's how all sports should be. It shouldn't be like this, you know, oh, major, regular tournament, major, regular tournament. Like, no, it should be structured with purpose. And it just feels like there needs to be a championship. Like, for the longest time, guys, people, I should say, pros in Call of Duty didn't seem to understand or grasp that champs, so COD champs, they didn't, a lot of times they made it sound like, oh, COD champs, you know, we won all these other tournaments, but COD champs, it's, you know, I mean, sure, it'd be great to win COD champs, but we already won these other tournaments. No, COD champs needs to be the champs. That is what it all comes down to. That should be your Super Bowl. That should be your World Series right there. That should be everything. That's what you've been working for that entire year. And that's why, obviously, having it how it was just didn't seem like that good. It just felt like, oh, this is, you know, this kind of seems like soccer or something where it's kind of like you just got a bunch of different tournaments. You got the Premier League, you got the Champions League, you got, all these different tournaments, right? Some are better than others, but the World Cup is the World Cup, and that's the big one, right? You know, and I just think that Champs was like the Super Bowl for Call of Duty, but some of the guys just in that didn't really a lot of times seem like they treated it like that, like the pro players. So having a regular season, a playoffs, and then championship, that's like, that creates so, I just think that that's what we need in esports, is structure somewhat. Because this Wild West days of esports, I just don't think it's sustainable for the long term, like through recessions, through, ups and downs in the economy and stuff. Like, esports and just gaming in general is still very young. So having a structured format, I think, is going to be very good. And doing it for some of the biggest games in the world, League of Legends, Call of Duty, now with Overwatch, I'm so excited for the future of esports and the future of franchised leagues. And I hope more games do it. I do hope, though, that not every game does it. Just the big ones. Call of Duty, Overwatch we didn't think was going to be that big, but it is big. League of Legends. Could we see it out of other, games like CSGO, Dota? These are all games that could very well do franchising. I don't know if they will or not, but I would love to see it with some of these games for sure, because I think it's the next wave. It's like, we're building something here that could be it could be up there with like the NBA and the NFL and in the NHL and the MLB. Like, you could have the big five, major esports, kind of like the big, four, major traditional sports. I mean, that is not that far off, guys, when we're thinking about this. Like, it's not that far away. And I'm very excited about it. But I do want to hear from you guys about this. What do you guys think about video games and franchising like traditional sports? What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a subscribe if you guys are new. Stay positive. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.